how are you doing? My name is Olivia. This is my YouTube channel, Pumpkin Hollow Quilts. Today is Monday, March 31st, and I am back with a cross-stitching update. It has been a little while since I have uploaded a update video. I think the last time I did it was about mid-February. I did not intend on, I had intended on recording a video much earlier in March. Didn't intend to be gone so long. To be honest, I didn't think anybody would notice. And then last week I started receiving messages asking if I was okay. I was a little bit taken aback because and this is not, honestly, it's not to get pity or anything, but I really didn't think anybody would notice that I was not uploading a video in a timely manner. So to get those messages, it kind of, it surprised me. I'm glad so many of you guys missed me. Life has just been really busy. I work 4 days a week, and then I'm off for 3, and it seems like those 3 days have just been, there's something that's going on that kind of takes me away from home. And even when I'm home, I have other stuff that I have to do. So finding time to record a video has not been very easy. Today should have been an easy day to record a video. It's been a bit challenging. My sweet little Freddie, he's not feeling very good. He's on the back of the couch right now, napping. So I'm hoping that the nap will help him. He's got a bit of a tummy ache. So I'm hoping it's, nothing alarming, just having a day where he's not feeling well. So I'm, a little bit concerned for him. So last time I recorded a video, I think it was right after Valentine's Day, and I did change out my decor somewhat. The quilt hanging up is the same one that I've had up for the last couple of months. It's the Carol's Churn Dash quilt. I meant to take it down. There was another quilt that I finished a little bit earlier this year that I was going to quilt and put in its place for springtime, and I haven't even had time to do any of that either. So I just decided to leave it up. It was a little bit of an accident. I had taken everything down, put up spring, and got everything just so, and I looked up and I had forgotten to take the quilt down. It's fine. I love this quilt, so having it up this time of the year still continues to make me happy. But I changed out all the decor, put up like spring, Easter. This is really the only area that I kind of decorate seasonally until we get to like Halloween and Thanksgiving and Christmas. But usually the rest of the house, I don't really, unless I find like some little, seasonal decor that fits in a specific spot, I usually keep all of my seasonal decor in this area. So I've swapped it out for Easter/spring, and I'll probably leave this all up until probably till the end of April, and then I'll make that transition over to like Americana and summer, and it'll stay that way all the way up until August probably. But I keep everything pretty simple. When the kids were little, I probably decorated a lot more, making sure that it was spread about the house, but they're older now, and I'm really the only one that I like it, so I swap it out and I decorate it for me, my aesthetic, and that kind of stuff. So everything's switched out. I like how it looked and how it came together. I love having the shelf behind me and kind of swapping it out seasonally too. It was just such a wonderful find last summer, and I'm just always so giddy every time I can go in and kind of spruce it up a little bit for the change of seasons. But keep everything very, I don't want to say minimalist, but I definitely, I don't go overboard decorating anymore. I keep it very like low key and simple. Thought I would start off with some finishes from the past. The first one is one that I stitched up a couple of years ago. It's called Twiddly Diddly Dee by Notforgotten Farms. This one, I remember I had such a fun time working on. I did it on a scrap piece of linen, and I used, I believe, the called for DMC. I might have swapped out 1 or 2 DMC just because of the linen that I used. I think it was a 36 count, to me, it kind of looks like I might have used like Heartland or Heritage or one of those by Picture This Plus. I do remember it was a scrap piece of linen, and then of course DMC. I love this one. So we have a lot of robins that live in our area, and especially this time of the year, if you go out in the morning, they're making a lot of music up in the trees, and they're one of my favorite birds that I see return each year. And the ones that live around here are busy building their nests and, you know, preparing for their families to come, which I hope will be very bountiful. So I love getting this one out each year for the past couple of years, and, you know, having it out and enjoying it. Last year and the year before, I went through some of the projects that I had previously finished and I redid them all. And this one was one of them. So this is Hello Spring by Plum Street. The only thing that's missing is I didn't do the Hello Spring. Originally, when I finished this piece, I did it to put it onto a wooden box so I put it on like sticky board, and I attached it to this box with magnets, washers, and then the box was filled with seasonal flowers, and it worked out for probably like a year or two, but then it didn't really fit my aesthetic because I'm not like a big, I mean, I love flowers. I mean, I love having like flowers in my flower garden, flowers in the house, that type of thing, but to create that display, it wasn't really my aesthetic, if that makes any sense. So it ended up, this piece, along with several others, ended up going into a drawer, and just, they weren't necessarily forgotten about. I knew that they were in there all the time, but I finally decided a couple of years ago to take those pieces and refinish them, putting them into frames. So that's what I did with this one, and I do love how it turned out. It hangs up on the wall in this room, and I switch them out seasonally. I think only one of them actually says, you know, whatever season it was. It might be Hello Summer is the only one that actually says it. But the rest of them, I cut that part off so that way I could fit it onto the box a little bit easier. But I'm very, very happy now that, you know, that I've refinished them all and put them into frames. I don't know what linen I used. It was a 36 count. And then for this one, I mixed DMC and over dyed threads, because when I started stitching this one, I was still relatively new to, when I first learned how to do cross stitching, it was DMC all the way. And then coming back into the world of cross stitching, there was all these over dyed threads that I'd never heard about. So it was, you know, I would pick up little bits of those over dyed threads, and that's what I started to like use in different pieces. If there was like a big spot, then I would use it in there. And then if it was smaller, I would use DMC. So this one, I kind of mixed the two, and that's the way it was for a little while until I started building up my stash. But Hello Spring by Plum Street, still very much available. And it was a lot of fun to create. And then I had, you know, when I originally finished it onto that box, I did love it. But yeah, I'm glad that I was able to take it and put it into a frame. And then now I get to display it wherever I want to in the house. My next finish is one, I don't think I've shared it in a good long while. I think I either was working on it when I first started doing Flosstube, or I already had it finished. But it is by, I don't know if you say Lila Studio or Lila Studio, but it's called The Anniversary. And this one always gives me those spring vibes when I get it out. It's got the tulips and, you know, kind of like those early spring flowers that I see in my area. I did personalize this one with my husband and my first initial, and then the year that we got married. And this one was another one where I mixed DMC with over dyed threads. I stitched on a 32 count Vintage Country Mocha. And I do remember working on this one. I loved it. It's so pretty. I like that colonial aspect of it, and it was just such a fun piece to work on. It does stay out year round. Most of the time it's in my bedroom on the wall, but as I kind of I try whenever there's a new season, I try to move everything a little bit so it's not always in the same place. So if you come to visit me, like let's say in the spring, when you come in the summer, everything will be moved around with new stuff that kind of fits in with like patriotic or summer, if that makes sense. But I try to move everything and put it in a different spot. So this piece went from my bedroom, then it was out in the family room, and now it's out here. So I just kind of rotate everything. And it is very much a spring piece, but it does usually stay out year round. And I love it. I love to stitch stuff that I get to personalize. I think it just makes it more special. And I think this was one of the very first pieces that I ever personalized for myself. I seem like lately, whenever I personalize anything, it's for, you know, somebody in my family tree, which is also very fun. And I have had people ask why I do that. And it just, you know, somebody will come over to my house and they'll say, oh, this is a beautiful sampler. Who's so-and-so? And then I get to tell them who so-and-so is. And it sort of brings them back to life. They've been long gone, but there's a lot of people in my family, they don't know who their people are. So I like to be able to be, oh, well, this is your yada yada. And then I get to talk about them a little bit, and it kind of brings it back to life. My next is by Scattered Seed Samplers. It's called Spring Gathering. I finished this one a couple of years ago. It kind of hung out waiting for a frame, and then I discovered the clearance section at Hobby Lobby. They had a couple of frames. Couldn't leave them behind. Brought, I think I bought like 3 frames, brought them home, and just on a whim, I decided to see if this one would work for my spring gathering, and it was a perfect fit. I typically like to have a little bit of room between the stitching and the frame. This one fits it like exactly, but I felt like it was made for it. It was perfect. Such a great find. And I'm so happy to have it done. I have it over here on the antique pie safe, and I love walking into this room and turning and seeing it. I think it just goes perfectly with the quilt and with everything. I love it. I think I stitched it on a 36 count piece of linen from my stash, and I remember using a variety of over dyed threads. I think I only had a few of the called for, and so there was lots that I had to substitute. I didn't make any like huge color changes. I kept everything the same. So when I was looking for a substitute, I just made sure to find something that was relatively close to the called for. I love how it turned out. Probably one of my top 100 favorite finishes. The next one I have to share today is one I finished. So I stitched it in like 2020 or 2021, somewhere in there, and it kind of hung out waiting for me to work up the gumption to fully finish it. And then when I did, I felt so dumb for waiting so long to finish it because it was such a blast, so easy. Lord knows what my problem was. It's called Sweet Finch by Samplers, Notforgotten. It was a kit, and someone so very kindly sent me the kit, and I was able to stitch it with all of the called for threads on a piece of 36 count weeks dye work linen. And I remember working on this one too, and I just loved it. I love the soft colors, the bird, the little flower. It's just so sweet. And I'm a huge fan of Samplers Notforgotten. I would stitch her stuff all the time. I just love it. So the kit came with the finishing beads. They're kind of like these sort of like rustic metal beads. I don't think they're metal, but they're made to kind of look like that. And then it did have the background or the backing fabric, which is just this beautiful green. And I love it. I think it turned out so wonderful. I usually leave this one up all the way through summer, even though it's still, you know, it's like a very spring piece. I leave it up all summer. I love it. The little Easter design that I have behind me, I just spent like 10 minutes trying to find the name of it, and I cannot figure out who designed it. I thought it was Country Rustic Primitives. I went onto her Etsy shop to try to find it, and I can't. So I will do a little sleuthing and I will just scroll the name down below. Stitched this one a couple of years ago. It was really quick and easy. I was so the spot where I had stitched it to go, I don't need it there anymore. I have a small little quilt hanger in its place. So this is one that I just kind of move around each year. So this year it's behind me on the shelf. Really quick and easy to stitch. I think there was like a couple of things I left off because I just like the 2 tulips, the Easter eggs, and then the bunny in the middle. Just such a sweet little stitch. I think it took me like a couple of evenings and then it was done. And I love getting this one out too. It's just so very sweet and springy. And again, hopefully future Olivia will be able to locate the name and then the designer of this piece. This next piece, whenever it shows up in a picture, I always get asked what it is. In my last video, it was over my shoulder, so a lot of you guys wanted to know the name of it. Here it is. It's called Home, a Diminutive Sampler by Pineberry Lane. I stitched this one maybe like 2020, I think. I was watching Farm Girl and she had it on in the room where she was recording. It was behind her hanging up on the wall and I saw it and I just fell madly in love with it. And she must have recently finished it because she pointed it out in that video and I went and I purchased it immediately and I stitched it. A friend of mine had sent me a piece of Picture This Plus Dill, which you cannot get it anymore. I wish they would, re-dye it because it's probably one of my favorites. I had just enough of that dill to stitch it and I think I had to use threads from my stash because at that point it was kind of hard to get over dyed thread, so I just kind of had to use what I had. I think the house was done in Roasted Marshmallows by Gentle Arts. And so it's on a 36 count. I stitched it 2/2, so the stitches are very like plush and there's a lot of texture and it looks really, really cool. But Home, Diminutive Sampler, Pineberry Lane. So much fun. Loved working on this one. Highly recommend if you want a small little house to work on. It probably will take you a little bit of time because it is a little mini beast, but it was so much fun. So if you just want a little something to tuck somewhere, cute little salt box house, this one definitely is perfect. Now that everything is back in their proper places, I do have a couple of brand new finishes. So I'm really behind on framing. I went to go look for something to get some information for a friend, and I realized just how many pieces are patiently waiting to be framed. So I did do a little bit of antiquing. I went thrift shopping, trying to find frames, and I have had a really, really hard time finding wooden secondhand frames. So I think I'm probably going to have to go to Hobby Lobby. I have not had a chance to do that because, they're closed on Sunday, which is always like the better day for me. And just finding the time to go to, pick out frames for them, it's very challenging. So I have a bit of a stack now that I need to get framed. However, this one, I will finish it into a little small for yield trench bowl or for, some other sort of display. It is called Land of Liberty by Brenda Gervais. So I started this one back in June of 23 when I was starting all the things. I had just a very, very tiny little start on it. And when I was, kind of looking to see a small, because my goal this year is to stitch more smalls. You're probably hearing Fred in the background. He moved, and so I was watching him. So I kind of lost my train of thought, but he's on the couch, making his nest, and you might hear him doing that. Definitely have a bit of an eagle eye on him today. But my goal for this year was to stitch more smalls, and instead of starting something brand new, I decided to look in the Mocking Basket of Whips to see what might be in there that would fit the bill. So I decided to work on this one, and I was able to finish it. So very, very, very pleased that I was able to get that done. Haven't had a chance to sit down and fully finish it, but just knowing that it's done makes me very happy, and that one thing came out of the Mocking Basket of Whips, which is amazing. So for this little guy, I had to make some substitutions. I didn't make any wild color substitutions. I pretty much kept it as it kind of looks on the chart. All I did was match it with threads that I had in my stash. But I do love how it turned out. I decided to stitch it, I think, on a 40 count, a Vintage Country Mocha that I had a piece for. And I think it turned out perfectly. So now I just need to kind of figure out, you know, what backing to put on it. Do I want, you know, what kind of trim do I want to put on it? I did buy a trim that I thought would be perfect, but it ended up being a little bit too small. So I need to find something else. But I'm very, very happy to have this one done. In my last video, I showed Spring at Hollyberry Farms by Stacy Nash. So I started this one right at the end of the year. My goal had been to try to finish it before spring, and I was able to do that. So right after I recorded my last video, I quickly finished the assignments for the month. And then I spent the rest of February and the first week in March working on this one, and I was able to finish it. And here it is. So I absolutely adore how it turned out. Such a fun project to work on, and I'm so glad I decided to work on this one first before tackling summer at Hollyberry Farms. Originally, my plan had been, once this one was finished, to start summer, but I've decided to kind of hold off and instead focus on some other projects. I stitched Spring at Hollyberry Farms on a piece of burnt sand by Mani Di Dona. And again, I'm pretty positive that I have butchered her name. And I used the called for threads, and I stitched it 1/2. I did make one change, which I cannot take credit for the idea. I saw somebody else on Instagram do it. I thought I had saved the post. That way I could give credit where credit was due. And I cannot find the saved post, and for the life of me, I can't remember who it was that did it. But there's supposed to be a big giant cat where the beehive is, and the beehive is actually supposed to be on the other side of the girl, kind of in this spot right here is where it's supposed to be. And she had posted where she had taken the cat out, which I had planned to take the cat out, and I was just going to try to find some other motif to stitch there, but she moved it right in that spot, and I thought it was genius. And so I decided to do it too. I think it turned out perfectly. I love it. The big cat didn't really do anything for me. That was kind of one of the reasons why I kind of held off stitching it, because I didn't really want to stitch that big cat. Not that there's anything wrong with it. It looks great, but just for me, it wasn't really doing it. So when I saw that she had taken the beehive and popped it right over here, I'm like, that is so much easier than me trying to figure out and stressing over what to stitch in the cat's place. But I love how it turned out. So super happy to have it done. And I most likely will leave this out all like spring and summer. I feel like it fits really well in both seasons. So at some point, I will get around to stitching summer at Hollyberry, but I'm going to hold off now for a little while and just enjoy this one. So fun. And that linen, it's the first time I've ever stitched on a piece of linen by that particular designer. Again, I'm going to butcher her name, Mani Di Dona. I love this piece of linen. The burnt sand it's just perfection. I love it with this piece so much. My friend Christine, Hollis Hands Creates, recommended it because I had sent her a message, and I can't remember what I originally had. There was another piece of linen I had intended for this one, and I just I don't know, I didn't like it. So I asked Christine, you know, what she recommended, and she recommended the burnt sand. And I'm so, so glad that she did. I definitely want to get some more because I feel like there are several projects that I have that it would be perfect for. So, so happy to have that one done, and to be able to kind of check that off the list and have another finish for the year. Love it. I can't quite remember where I left off last month, but I did show the progress that I had made on the houses of Hawthorne Hollow by Carriage House Samplings. Don't remember if I had completed the block that, if I had completed the block yet. And at that time, we were working on this one, which was 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, block number 7. So we're working on this one. I had the row of houses done, and then I just had to do the hot air balloon and the flowers. Again, I don't remember if I had that part done, but by the end of February, I did have block number 7 complete, and this is how it turned out. So one change that I did in the flowers, so the DMC colors that I pulled, the flowers were kind of like murky looking and not really like a flower color. So I changed it to white and red, and I think they look much, much better. I love them. So I completed block number 7, and then this month I moved over to block number 8. So basically the assignment was just to stitch half of the block in March, and then we'll finish the rest of the block in April. So I think I kind of got halfway. I did everything around the house, and then I outlined the house. So basically when I get to it next month, I just need to stitch there's like a vine on the one side of the door and then fill in the house. And I believe the block will be done. On this particular block, I did have to change out quite a few colors. I did change the house color. The red, white, and blue of the flag is different than what the called for was. The fence is also one that I changed out because the picture has it to where it looks kind of green. And whatever color it was that was the DMC, it didn't quite look right. So I did kind of like a dark blackish green, and I like how it turned out. I'm stitching this with my friend Yvette, and it's been so much fun to work on it with her, and we have come quite a long way. The goal for this one is to finish by the end of the year, so I definitely say we're on track to make that happen. And I am stitching it on a piece of 40 count Heritage by Picture This Plus, and I'm using a variety of DMC, stitching at 1/2. I love it. I think it's coming along beautifully. And I'll be honest, I'll be glad to get this one done at the end of the year. My next project that I worked on was Sarah Stewart Hardman by Needlework Press. I'm also stitching this one with Yvette, and the goal for this one is to have it finished by the end of the year. I am stitching mine, so I will personalize it with my 2x great-grandmother, Martha's name. She's the one that I have her treadle sewing machine. So I definitely needed to stitch something in her honor. So I finished, let's see, in February. I don't know that I had started working on this one yet. I think we were supposed to stitch the verse in February, and I was able to complete that. The only thing I did was I left off the area on Sarah that has the name, because I think that box is not going to be big enough for what I need to personalize, because I do like to put first, middle, last maiden name, date of birth, date of death, and I don't think it's going to fit all in that little box. So I will not be stitching the box, but my great-great-grandmother's name and all of her information will be down underneath the verse. For March, I stitched, so it's basically all this chunk right here is what we stitched, and then 2 border flowers. And I was able to complete that this month. I know today is the last month of March, but in my mind, I already turned the clock to April. So I'm having trouble remembering what day it is. So I finished March's assignment, and for April, I've already assigned that assignment. Basically, I think the way it works out, and if it's not going to be too much stitching, my hope is to have Sarah done by the end of summer. So I'm stitching Sarah Stewart Hardman on a piece of 36 count vintage buttercream, and I'm using classic Colorworks and stitching it 1/2. And I do love her, but I am ready to get her done and be done with her. So for the month of April, I assigned this chunk right here. So it's the house, and then there's the lawn with a couple of sheep, and then there's some border flowers right here. So that is what has been assigned. I'm hoping it's not going to be too much stitching. It looks like it's a solid like chunk, but a lot of these motifs seem bigger than they actually are. So I'm hoping that's the case, because it would be nice to basically do, so this would be April, May, June, and then it's done in July. Hopefully. We'll see. We're going to go for it and, obviously adjust as needed, but it would be really nice to get her done, by the end of summer, and then move on to my next project. So in March, after I finished my assignments, I had spring at Hollyberry Farms done, and I had my required small to meet my goal finished. I decided to go into the Mocking Basket of Whips and pull something that was calling to me very loudly, which was Butternut Tavern by Stacy Nash. I started this one, it might have been one of the ones I started back in June of 23 when I started all the things, or it could have been one I started shortly thereafter. I started it and I didn't work on it until maybe last year. I think I picked it up and worked on it for just a little bit. And then I decided I really want to get this one done too. So I started working on it, and this is how far I got. So I was able to complete the border of flowers. I have the sampler, we'll call it the little mini sampler, done, and I was able to start on the house. Really enjoyed working on this one. I did make one small change, and that was to the roof. I had to swap out for espresso bean. The called for, which was General Arts walnut, was kind of, because in the picture it looks black, or at least a very dark brown, and it was more of a, we'll call it a beige color. This is walnut. So it was definitely not going to work out for the roof. I went into my stash and I pulled General Arts espresso bean, which I feel like works a whole heck ton better. And this is how far I got. I was hoping I'd get a little bit farther, but there was a couple of days where stitching, I didn't get, maybe like 45 minutes, and that was about it. But at least I took it to this point. I have another project that I'm going to start working on that I'll talk about in a few minutes, but I am hoping to get back to this really, really soon. And I love working on it. I love this linen so much. It is 40 count Dead Sea Scroll by Seraphim Fabrics. It is probably my most favorite linen ever. I don't know why I don't have more of it. It's just gorgeous. I love the modeling in it. It's so perfect. And I can think of so many projects that I would love to stitch on it. So hope to get this one done relatively soon. I am going to frame it. The picture has you kind of make it into a pillow, but I have a dog. Sometimes he likes to lay on the pillows, and I would be afraid that this one would be one that he would, lay on or what have you. So I will frame it, and it'll probably be one that I move around seasonally because it's just so perfect. It works year round, and then of course it'll look really cool in the autumn with some of the autumn stuff. So Anyway, I hope to get to that one really soon. Definitely a lot of fill-in my future on the house, but I'm looking forward to it. I did continue working on His Eye on the Sparrow by Heartstring Samplery. This is supposed to be my Sunday stitch. I'm working on it with Michelle of Cozy Egg. I wasn't very faithful about working on this one during the month of March. When I made the decision to go for a finish on spring at Hollyberry Farms, it kind of took up a couple of Sundays. So I have gotten back to it. I stitched on it 2 Sundays, I think, in March. I want to be better about working on it. And I feel like this one sometimes gets the shaft, so to speak, because, you know, I'll be working on something else and I'll think, well, I'd rather finish this other one. And I need to make sure that I'm taking that dedicated time to work on Sparrow. But here's the progress that I've made. So over here, I was able to finish the basket. There's some motifs right in here that I finished. And then I started working on, I don't know if it's supposed to be a cow. It kind of looks like a demon cow. I think it's supposed to be a cow, but it's definitely a very funky one. And I was able to start that. I had to rip out part of it and restitch it because I had made a counting error. The cow is right where the page break is. And the page, there's like, they have the page break and then there's like 3 columns and it's really heavily shaded. And that's just something that the designer did. Instead of making a little bit lighter, like there's certain designers that when there's a page break, you can still see the stitches. The shading is very light. And on this particular pattern, the shading is really dark. So it's kind of hard to tell, and you kind of have to fold the page a little bit and butt them up against each other so you can tell where to stitch. So it was me not paying very good attention, and I had to rip out part of it and restitch it, but I have it all corrected now. I'm stitching this on a piece of a 40 count, one more reproduction by Be Stitch Me, and I'm using all of the called for threads, and I'm stitching it 1 over 2. And I do like working on it. It's so beautiful. And every time I get it out, the colors are just so wonderfully jeweled tone, which I love. That's kind of like my favorite color palette. And I really do enjoy working on it. I just need to, like last night, I only worked on it for an hour and then it was time to go to bed. Like I need to make sure that I am giving it more dedicated time on the Sundays when they roll around. And I haven't been for a while. And that's just because like, I don't think I started stitching it until almost 10 o'clock last night. So I just need to make sure I'm finding that extra time to work on it because I want to get it farther along. Originally, when I started this, I thought that I'd have like this whole upper top section done by now, and I would be working down below. So that's kind of a goal that I've kind of set for myself where I would like to see that top row completely finished by about midsummer. So hopefully I'm kind of like going out a little ways because, you know, things happen. And I don't want to say, yeah, I would like to try to do it by the end of spring because something's going to come up. So if I can just do like midsummer, if I can just get this top area done by midsummer, I'll be really, really happy. But anyway, I did get a little bit of mail, and the first little bit was market purchases. I kept it very low key. I picked these ones because I really loved them and they spoke to me. But otherwise, I've been trying to make sure that anytime I feel the urge to go buy something, I go look through my stash. And even today, when I was looking for the pattern that I wanted to show today, I was looking through my stash trying to find it, and I saw all the wonderful samplers and smalls and seasonal, and I realized that there's so many wonderful things in my stash that I need to stitch. So I kept my market purchases very low key. First one is one that I saw Brenda Gervais post. All she posted was the house, and I fell madly in love with it the very first time I saw that little sneak peek, and it's a daily reminder by Brenda Gervais with Thy Needle and Thread. I did go ahead and purchase everything. I was able to get my hands on the called for linen, which is this gorgeous piece. I think it's called Arboreal. I'm probably saying that one wrong too. It's 36 count by Cedar River Linen, and it is gorgeous. Gorgeous, gorgeous, gorgeous. So I was able to get the linen for it and all of the threads. And I had the linen and the threads here before my chart arrived, which was very cool. I was trying to be a little proactive. So these are all of the beautiful called for threads. All of these beautiful earth tone colors speak to me. So I can't wait to start this one. I do plan on starting it today. I know Tara Solly Stitches is stitching this for her birthday. I saw her post yesterday, I think it was, about this being her birthday project and you know, having a stitch along for it. I was already planning on stitching this anyway, so I'll definitely jump on board. I can't wait to start this today. I'm very excited. I've been waiting for like weeks to start this one, and I made myself wait until the end of the month. So today is the end of the month, and I've showed it in my video, and I will be starting it tonight. I have it housed in a project bag that I made out of Civil War reproduction fabric and some vintage lace from my stash. A couple of weeks before market, Kathy Barrick showed her sneak peeks of what she was going to have available at market. And this one, which is called From Velvet to Linen, it called to me like immediately. I love this one. So both this one and A Daily Reminder I purchased from Christine Hollis Hands Creates Etsy shop. And she sent me a photo of this when she was at market. She just snapped a quick photo of the one that had been stitched, and I was just like, oh, I can't wait for it to come. So it's here. It is charted with MPIs. However, I'm going to go into my overdyed thread stash and I'm going to pull threads for it. I think that's going to be a lot of fun. I need to find a piece of linen because there is a pedestal frame that I bought last year, I think it was. And if I take off these two, I can fit this in that pedestal frame. But I need to double and triple check before I purchase the linen to make sure that it will fit in that pedestal frame. I think it would be perfect. And for the first time ever, I purchased the Happiness is Homemade 2020. So each year they do a cookbook, but this is the 2025 Nashville Needlework Market Cookbook. So I also picked this one up too. There's a lot of great recipes in here. There's also a lot of beautiful smalls that designers included in it, and I can't wait to work on a couple of them. So I purchased that from Christine Hollis Hands Creates Etsy shop. And I also picked up a piece of, and this is the called for, it is 36 count Weeks Dye Works parchment. And it's a big old piece of linen. So I purchased it because when I finish Sarah Stewart Hardman, I am going to work on the Mary Bar Sampler by Stacy Nash, and I am stitching this for my paternal grandparents. And there's a big verse in here, or a poem, and I'm going to substitute a different poem in there. So I need to chart that one too, but it's one, I think in the UK, because it was, I was on Instagram one night, I was on Instagram Reels, and this lady that I follow, she was reciting the poem, and I think it's like a eulogy, and she was just doing a portion of the eulogy, and the portion that she was doing was so perfect. So I'm going to take the eulogy as she recited it, and that's what I'm going to stitch in place of the verse. And you can't really see it very well, but the verse is like right up in this area. So I Had already started this one back in June of 2023. I did it on a piece of Vintage Country Mocha. I had all of the called for threads, but right away I was noticing there was some blending issues. And I love Vintage Country Mocha. I stitch a lot, a lot of things on it, like a lot of smalls and things. But for something that big and for, something that's that important to me, I wanted to make sure that I liked the linen. And so once again, I contacted Christine and I asked what she would recommend, and she recommended the called for. So I purchased some of that. I'm very glad that I did. And so I'm looking forward to starting that, and I'm stitching it for my grandparents. I received a couple packages from the Fat Quarter Shop. The first package came right after I recorded that video in February. So these have definitely been waiting for me to, get to them. The first is a needle minder that was designed by Kim Deal, and it's called Henny Penny. Very cute, love it. So all of these items are available now on the Fat Quarter Shop's website, and I'll put a link to the Fat Quarter Shop down below. So Henny Penny is part of a Pineberry Farms series designed by Kim Deal. And this is a cross stitch piece called Feeling Sheepish. And she stitched it on a project bag that you can purchase from the Fat Quarter Shop. Very cool. Stitch cards, Be in My Bonnet Set X by Lori Holt. A quilt pattern called Fetch by It's So Emma. Very cute. Not Today by It's So Emma. I feel like saying that sometimes. Not Today. Violet, which is part of the Seed Packet Cross Stitch series by It's So Emma. Bramble Blossoms by It's So Emma. Stripy Spools, sorry, Stripy Spools. I don't have contacts or my glasses on today, so like the camera or my phone is totally blurry, and all I do is look for a red dot so I know it's recording, and I can't read anything. Stripy Spools by It's So Emma. And this one is jelly roll friendly. So just in case you have a jelly roll, you want to do something fun with it, this is a pattern that is friendly. For the Frill of It by It's So Emma. Some cute dresses. Tulip Seed Packet Cross Stitch series by It's So Emma. Very fun in the spring. Henny Penny designed by Kim Deal. So another one that she designed to be stitched on the project bags. This one is a quilt called Scrappy Americana Flag by Lori Holt. I love this one. Hometown Neighborhood Birdhouse by Lori Holt. And the last one is called Summer Picnic, also by Lori Holt. And this one I am very tempted to do. And the last thing from the Fat Quarter Shop is part of their Stitch Quarterly Cross Stitch Club subscription. The theme for March was Bloomin' Spring, and the cross stitch piece is called Springtime Blooms. So this is a cross stitch subscription club that is still open if you are at all interested in joining. Comes out 4 times a year, and it's always seasonal. So you usually get the cross stitch pattern. It comes with a project bag. This one is so cute. The linen or Ada. So this month it comes with a piece of linen, which in person it's very, it's like a very light gingham. It also comes with the called for thread and a needle minder. There's probably a needle somewhere in there too. And then there's always kind of like a new tool that they have available. And this one is a Fat Quarter Shop exclusive. It's called Floss Bobbin Station. So you can put your floss bobbins in here, and then you have it out, you know, in your stitching area. There's also a magnet for your needles. So if you're a bobbinator like I am, I actually go back and forth. I bobbinate, and I also, it depends. If I'm pulling from my box of DMC threads, I bobbinate. Otherwise, I will sometimes, if it's going in a project bag for a while, I will put it on some sort of a cardboard, or these, I can't remember what these are called. My friend Megan sent them to me a couple of months ago, and I love them, Megan. They're probably my new favorite tool. I use them for this one, and then there's another project where I had to do a whole bunch of DMC threads, and they are such an amazing tool. But I usually do something like that, but half the time I bobbinate. And this would be awesome if you are a bobbinator. So thank you so very much to the Fat Quarter Shop for sending those items to me. I will put a link to the Fat Quarter Shop's website down below. I did get a little bit of happy mail over the past month or so. The first little bit comes from my friend Denise. She sent me a charm pack of Shelbyville by Joe Morton. And the day it came, that night, I was watching YouTube, and there was a commercial from the Fat Quarter Shop, and Kimberly was doing a demo about a quilt where you use a charm pack, and then you have some background fabric, and it basically makes a Irish chain. So super easy, looks amazing, and so that's what I'm going to do. It was a free pattern. I printed it off, and I can't wait to start, and I will call it Shelbyville. I can't wait to start my Shelbyville quilt. So thank you so very much, Denise. It was so sweet of you to send that to me. Joe Morton is one of my favorite designers. I'm still patiently waiting for, it's called Carolina, to release. It was supposed to release in March. It hasn't yet, and I have a reminder to pop up because I'm so happy that Joe Morton's re-releasing some of her older fabric lines. There's some that the moment that they come out, I'm snatching them. But anyway, thank you so very much, Denise. The last little bit of happy mail I got came from my friend Barbara, and she sent me a box of just such little amazing goodies. So the first little thing she sent me were, she said they were brand new tart pans that she had picked up when she was out antiquing. And in that February video, I had talked about how I had saw I think it was like a Pinterest pin or something like that, where they had taken little tart pans and they had put cross stitch in them. And I had found a couple at a local antique store, but she had some these were actually the ones I was looking for. The ones that I got were a little bit bigger, but she had the ones that I was looking for, not realizing those were the ones that I was looking for. But she sent them to me, and so I cannot wait to stitch up some small little cross stitch to put in it. So each one has two. So I can't wait to find, you know, the perfect little motif to stitch on them. And then I definitely want to do some sort of a display where they're kind of all together. She crocheted or knitted this washcloth, which is so, so cute. I love them. My grandma used to do that all the time, and I have a couple of hers that she did. She also sent me two little pieces of 56 count linen. I've never stitched on anything higher than 40 count. So these ones definitely will be kind of fun to play with. And I love the colors. It's just those beautiful jewel tones that I love. She also sent me two little wooden candlesticks, which I can't wait to find some candles to put in them and then display them. A needle book, which I have started collecting these. Whenever I go to the antique store, if I find one, I usually will adopt it. She also sent me some vintage stickers, which I plan on putting in my book of days. Some vintage spools, which I do collect these. I have some of my grandma's that I save and I just kind of like display here and there whenever I need to. And then the most precious thing, this lace was handmade by her great-grandmother. So it's over 100 years old. And this lace is in the most perfect condition I have ever seen 100-year-old plus lace. Usually there's like, it's faded, or the color went from white to more of like brown or like antique white. And this is like pure white. It's just in such wonderful condition. And I'm so very, very blessed and humbled that she sent it to me to take care of it now. And I can't wait to find the perfect project to put it with. I'm definitely going to find something that's worthy of it. So thank you so very much, Barbara. It was such a fun box, and I have been having such fun going through the box. I've been keeping everything together so I could show in a video, and I've just been having fun, picking things up and looking at it and, imagining where I'm going to put it or what I'm going to do with it. So thank you, Barbara. It was so sweet of you. Well, my friends, that brings me to the end of today's video. Once again, I do want to apologize for being gone so long. I am going to try really hard to get back on a schedule again. I feel like I do a lot better when I have scheduled each video. I do plan on being back in a couple of weeks to upload a quilting video. I plan on in a couple of weeks uploading a new quilt video. I have worked on several quilts kind of in the background of everything that's been going on, usually at night when I get home from work or when I'm done doing, whatever it is that I'm out doing. I have been quilting, and so I have a couple of quilt top finishes to talk about. So I hope you'll come back and check that out. Thank you so very much for hanging out with me today. I do really, really appreciate it. I think I'm going to try to upload my next video at the beginning of May. So I hope you will come back and see what I have been working on. If you have any questions, please feel free to leave them down below in the comment section. If you would like to see what I'm up to in between my videos, you can follow me on Instagram. I'm Pumpkin Hollow Quilts, and I do have a Facebook page called Pumpkin Hollow Quilting. Thank you again so very much for hanging out with me today. I don't know if you can hear it, but my dog's whining, so I need to go take him out. So I hope you guys have a great couple of weeks, and I will see you all again soon. Bye.